When I came home that Tuesday afternoon, the first thing I smelled wasn't dinner. It was paint, a sharp chemical, the kind that stings your nose and tells you something's wrong. For a second, I thought maybe the neighbors were renovating again. Then I opened my own door and saw my son Manny standing in my bedroom with a roller in his hand. Surprise, he said. White streaks covered my pale blue wall, the one I'd painted myself the year I paid off this house. Lauren thought this color would brighten things up, he added, smiling wide like it was a gift. Behind him, my daughter-in-law Lauren stood with her phone raised, taking a picture. Doesn't it look so much more modern, she said. Her voice was sugar over sandpaper. My first words came out quieter than I intended. Manny, why are you painting my room? He laughed, not hearing the crack in my voice. It's just a little change, Ma, we're helping fix things up around here. I looked around, my quilt was gone from the bed, the curtains gone too. A new white comforter lay folded on the chair, tags still hanging. I felt something twist in my chest. Where's my quilt? Oh, we put it in storage, Lauren said. It didn't match the new aesthetic. For a moment, I couldn't speak. I stood there, listening to the hum of the ceiling fan, the clink of the paint roller against the tray. The whole house smelled wrong, like someone else lived there now. You should have asked me, I said. Manny gave me that half smile he always used when he wanted to end a fight before it began. Come on, Ma, you're always saying how tired you are. We're just trying to make things easier. Easier for who? He paused. For everyone. Lauren chimed in again. You've been working so hard for so long, Maria. You deserve a break. Manny and I were thinking maybe you could stay with Joanna for a bit while we finish up the house. Joanna, my neighbor, my friend. My throat tightened. Why would I stay at Joanna? This is my house. Lauren smiled politely, but her eyes didn't match. It's just temporary. We want to get it ready to sell. You'd make such a profit. Zell. The word felt like a slap. This house isn't for sale, I said. Manny put down the roller. Ma, you've got to think long term. It's an old place. You can't keep up with it forever. We could sell this and buy something bigger with a yard, maybe near us. I like my small yard, I said, and I like my small house. He sighed as if I were a stubborn child. Okay, he said, raising his hands. We're not doing anything without you, don't worry. But when I looked at the new lockbox key hanging by the door, I already knew worry had moved in to stay. That night I tried to sleep, but the smell of paint crept under the door. It mixed with something else, fried onions, faint and sweet, a smell that used to mean comfort. Now it just reminded me that my son was in my kitchen, using my pans, rearranging my cabinets. I could hear them talking in the next room. Lauren's voice low and sharp. She's attached to this place, we'll have to ease her into it. Manny's reply, she'll understand once she sees how much we're improving it. I closed my eyes. The sound of my own heartbeat was louder than their whispers. I bought this house 2 years ago. After 37 years at Lopez's Diner, washing dishes, cleaning tables, saving every extra dollar in a coffee can I kept under my bed. When I signed the papers, the notary smiled at me and said, "You did this all by yourself." And I said, "Yes, finally." It wasn't big. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, yellow siding faded from the sun. But it was mine. Now, my name on the title suddenly didn't feel like enough. The next morning I woke early. The air smelled like primer and coffee. Manny was already in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone. Morning, Ma, he said, smiling. Lauren's getting more paint samples. You want pancakes? No, thank you, I said. I'm going to work. He looked up surprised. Work, I thought you were retired. I still pick up shifts. It keeps me busy. Ma, he said, frowning, you don't have to. We can help now. You can rest. I like working. He sighed again. You're too proud. And you're too comfortable, I said quietly. He didn't answer. At the diner, the smell of coffee and bacon was a kind of medicine. The hiss of the griddle, the rhythm of plates hitting the counter, all familiar. Joanna, my friend from across the street, came in for her usual tea. Maria, you look tired, she said. They're repainting my house, I told her. Joanna raised an eyebrow. Who? Manny and Lawrence. She frowned. Did you ask them to? I shook my head. They said it's for me. Sweetheart, she said softly, sometimes helping isn't helping. Her words stayed with me all afternoon, heavier than the plates I carried. When I came home that night, my living room was different. The furniture was pushed against the walls. My framed photos, my husband, my parents, Manny as a child were stacked in a box labeled storage. Lauren was on the couch, typing on her laptop. "Hey, Maria," she said casually. "We moved things around so the space feels bigger. You like it?" I looked at the empty walls. "Where are my pictures?" "Oh, just for now," she said. "We're thinking of staging the place. Neutral colors sell better." "Sell," I repeated. She looked up. "Didn't Manny tell you? He already talked to a realtor. Nothing final, just exploring options." My hands went cold, without asking me. "It's your name on the papers, but we're family," she said sweetly. "We just want what's best for you." I felt something snap inside me, not anger yet, just a hard, quiet knowing. They weren't helping. They were taking. That night, I checked the kitchen drawer where I kept my spare keys. Empty. I checked the front door. The lock had been changed, new silver shine, same brand Manny used on his apartment. I stood there, breathing slow, fighting the sting in my chest. My own house, locked without my permission. I found my phone and called him. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Ma, what's up?" "Where are my keys?" "Oh, I took them. We just changed the locks for safety. You'll get the new ones once the paint dries." "You changed the locks on my house." "It's just temporary, relax." The line went quiet for a moment. Then I said very softly, "Give me my keys, Manny." He sighed, "Ma, don't make this harder." "Give me my keys." He hung up. I didn't sleep that night. The house felt like it belonged to someone else. Every creak, every hum, every clock tick foreign. I sat in the kitchen with my coffee and stared at the window. Outside, the streetlight buzzed, a soft electric hiss that matched the noise in my head. That's when I saw it, a shadow moving past the porch. Lauren stepping out to her car. She carried my envelope of cash, the one I kept in the cookie tin for emergencies. I pressed my hand against the window, but she was already gone. The next morning, I checked the tin. Empty. $2,000 gone. I sat down at the table, my hands shaking, and whispered, "Enough." I spent the next 3 hours gathering evidence. Photos of the painted walls. Screenshots of the listing page Manny had opened on his laptop. A picture of the empty cookie tin. Then I called Joanna. "Can you drive me to the locksmith's?" She didn't ask questions, she just said, "Of course." By sunset, my locks were changed again, my locks, my keys. When I turned the deadbolt that night, the sound was sharp and clean. Like closing a chapter. They came home after dark. The doorknob rattled first, then Lauren's voice through the wood. "Maria, did you lock us out?" "Yes." Silence, then pounding. "Open this door," Manny shouted. "No," I said. "You can't do this, we live here now." "This is my house." I could hear them arguing on the porch, their voices rising, their anger spilling into the quiet street. Then Lauren said it, her tone dripping with false calm. "I'm calling the police." I almost laughed, "Go ahead." 15 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. 2 officers stepped out, one older, one young. Lauren rushed to them. "She's locked us out, we live here, we have stuff inside." The older officer turned to me. "Ma'am, what's your name?" "Maria Lopez." "This your house?" "Yes, title in my name." He nodded slowly. "Then they're trespassing, you don't have to let them in." Lauren's face went pale. "But we have a right, she's not well." The younger officer held up his hand. "Ma'am, you can collect your belongings tomorrow, supervised." I watched the words hit her like a slap. Manny looked at me, eyes wide, something between anger and shame. "Ma." I stepped back and closed the door. The sound of the latch sliding into place was the sweetest music I'd heard in years. But even as I leaned against that door, breathing hard, I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. Because the next morning, an envelope slid under my door. Inside, a letter printed, not handwritten. "We have legal tenant rights now. You can't evict us without a court order." The letter shook in my hands. Tenant rights, a printed threat with my name at the bottom, written in a way I've never written it. My signature was rounder, kinder, this one had teeth. I set it beside the cookie tin. The tin looked back at me like an old witness. It had kept my years inside it, grease-scented cash, folded receipts, birthday tips wrapped with rubber bands. The tin is where the first crack started. Not last week. Years back. Flashback 1, the night of the missing 20s. Manny was 17 then. The house we rented had thin walls and a porch light that buzzed like a trapped bee. I worked late that night. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and lemon cleaner when I locked the door at 11. At home, the living room carried that tired scent, old carpet, and cold air. Manny sat on the couch, socks pulled to his calves, TV low. He didn't look up when I came in. "You ate?" I asked. He shrugged, kind of. I went to my room and pulled the tin from beneath my bed. The metal felt cool, familiar. I opened it and counted by touch first, like I always did. Light. Too light. I poured the bills into my lap. I knew the stacks by heart. 2 20s gone, maybe 3. "Manny," I said, standing in the doorway, "come here." He stood slow. "What?" "Tell me the truth." His shoulders tightened. "About what?" I raised the tin. "Did you take from here?" He looked at it, then at me. A small muscle twitched near his jaw. "I'll put it back," he said. "How much?" 40, he swallowed. "Okay, 60. "What for?" He didn't answer. "Manny." His voice cracked. "Everyone got new shoes, Ma. I've got these old ones with the squeak. I'm tired of being the broke one." I looked down at the sneakers on his feet. Rubber grayed at the edges, one lace tied in a knot because it was too short. I wanted to be strict. I wanted to be noble. Instead, I heard myself say, "Next time you ask." He stared at the tin. "You always keep money there." "Yes," I said. "For what?" "For everything," I said. "For when the stove breaks, for when the doctor says I need an x-ray, for when life decides to embarrass me." He looked down. "Sorry." It sounded like he was sorry for the shoes, not the taking. I went to the kitchen. The sink smelled like steel and onion peel. I washed my hands and rubbed the garlic scent off with the cheap soap that never worked. When I came back, Manny was holding the tin like it was something he wanted to love and smash at the same time. "Give it," I said. He handed it over. His palm was damp. A ring of sweat marked the lid. That night, I slept with the tin on the chair next to me. Just for a while, I told myself, but you do a thing once to feel safe, and then you keep doing it because you remember how scared you were. Flashback to the key on the ring. 5 years ago, before I owned this house, we lived in a small apartment near the freeway. Trucks moaned past at night like animals. The building smelled like bleach and hot dust. The landlord taped a notice to our door one summer morning. "Late fee, then another." I cried in the bathroom, quiet so Manny wouldn't hear. "I did." "Ma," he said through the door, "open up." I did. The room smelled like cheap shampoo and fear. He held out a lanyard, still wearing his grocery store name tag. "I picked up extra shifts, we'll be okay. Give me the rent money, I'll pay it on my way in." "You sure?" He nodded. "You trust me or not?" "I do," I said. I handed him the envelope. He slid it into his backpack without looking at it. The zipper made a sound like a warning. That night he came home late with a pizza and bright eyes. "We're good," he said, kissing my head the way he used to when he was little. The next afternoon, the landlord knocked again. "Still short," he said. "Payment didn't go through." I stared at him. "My son paid in cash." He shrugged. "Not here." When Manny came home, I sat him down at the table. The formica was chipped at the corner. I traced the rough edge with my thumbnail so I wouldn't shout. "Mijo," I said softly, "what happened to the money?" His eyes darted. "They said the system was down." "At the leasing office." "No, the bank, the grocery bank." "Manny," I said, "look at me." He couldn't. "How much did you keep?" Silence. "Manny." "A little. I thought I could put it back before anyone noticed." "How much?" He whispered it. 200. The breath went out of me like I'd been hit in the ribs. I stood up and walked to the sink so I wouldn't throw the salt shaker across the room. "You had a choice," I said to the faucet. "You chose your own embarrassment over mine." He started to cry, frustrated tears he tried to swallow. "I'll fix it, Ma, don't look at me like that." "Like what?" Like my hands suddenly didn't know what to do when they weren't holding my family together. "We didn't get evicted." Joanna lent me the difference from her church fund, and I paid her back in weekly 20s until I could breathe again. That week, I gave Manny a copy of the apartment key. We stood in the doorway, the hall smelling like wet carpet and cologne. Emergency only, I said. He pocketed it quick, like the decision belonged to him now. Thanks, he said. That thanks had a secret inside it. From then on, keys meant love to him. And access. When I bought this house, I gave Manny another copy. We were standing in the kitchen holding grocery bags the first day I moved in. The room smelled like cardboard and the lemony cleaner, the realtor used to pretend the house had always wanted me. I held the key out on my palm like a medal. For emergencies, I said. He kissed my cheek. You did it, Ma. I did. Middle of winter. The pen shook in my hand at the title company. The notary's stamp clicked like a door closing on all the years I couldn't. I put the deed in a blue folder and kept that folder under the mattress at first, then in the closet behind the mop. Where's the title? Manny asked a week later, casual as a weather question. In a safe place, I said. He grinned. I'm proud you're a homeowner now. That doesn't mean I stop working. He touched the key on his ring like a worry stone. You shouldn't have to. I thought he meant kindness. Now I hear the line again and hear other words under it. You shouldn't have to, but I will. Back to now, at my kitchen table, the forged letter waited like a smirk. They spelled my middle name wrong. Teresa with an H. The printer ink smelled faintly of heat. Lauren always liked printing things. She thought paper made lies feel official. I took a photo, date and time stamped. I slid the letter into a page protector and labeled it, for lawyer. Then I opened the cupboard and took down the tin. It rattled empty, a dry sound ugly as a lie. I rubbed the lid with my thumb until the metal warmed. That tin had fed us, paid doctors, filled gas tanks, kept the electric light burning through long winters. It made Manny feel small once. Then it made him feel big. I realized something as I sat there tracing the shallow dent near the side, the dent from the time we moved and the tin fell off the porch. The tin remembered his hands. Flashback 3, the first help. 2 summers ago, Manny and Lauren came by with iced coffees and a brightness that meant a pitch. The living room smelled like fresh drywall and a candle Lauren had brought, something called ocean linen, which smelled like a hotel trying to wash away secrets. Lauren sat with her back straight and her knees together. She held her cup with both hands, pinky lifted like a little antenna for attention. We've been thinking, she said. Always dangerous, Joanna would say. Manny leaned forward. Ma, you should do a living trust. What? So the house goes to me if something happens, he said quickly. I looked at him. Why you? So it's easy, he said. You know I'll take care of everything. Lauren smiled, showing all her teeth. We found a template. It's simple. You just sign and notarize. Where did you find it? Online, she said. Everyone does it now. I took the pages. The paper felt too smooth, like skin with something under it. The document mentioned a successor trustee. Beneficial interests. Powers to sell, refinance, transfer. Not today, I said, passing it back. Manny's mouth tightened. It protects you. It protects you, I said. He forced a laugh. Same thing, Ma. No, I said, not quite. Lauren's eyes stayed on my face, not blinking. She took the papers back and slid them into her tote bag. Another time, she said sweetly. When they left, I stood at the window and watched Manny reach for the key ring as he walked to the car. He touched it the way some men touch a cross. That night, I found the printer in my hallway humming quietly, the plastic warm. A single page sat in the tray. Quit claim deed draft. There was a line for my signature. And a line for Manny. I took a photo. Then I slid the paper into the blue folder with the deed, a new kind of proof. I didn't tell them I'd seen it. I wanted to pretend we were still a family that could choose better. I sat at my kitchen table now, years later, with the forged letter staring back. Tenant writes, a threat printed in Times New Roman. My phone buzzed. A text from Vincent, a server from the diner. Vincent, Joanna told me you okay. Me, yes, no, come by. Vincent, 10 minutes. I made tea. The kettle's whistle cut through the paint smell like a protest. Vincent arrived with a mechanic's jacket over his apron shirt. He smelled like car grease and cinnamon gum. He looked at the letter and whistled. They're bold. They're foolish, I said. Bold is when you ask. He nodded. You going to a lawyer? Yes, I said, I just need a name that isn't a cousin's cousin. I got one, helped my aunt with a shady landlord. He scrolled and sent me a contact, Addie Trin, Elder and Housing. We sat there for a moment, listening to the house breathe. Pipes settling, refrigerator hum, the paint drying in my stolen bedroom. Vincent tapped the tin with his knuckle. What's that? My old bank, I said. He laughed, solid construction. It kept us alive, I said. It also taught Manny a language I didn't mean to teach. What language? Take now, apologize later, I said. Family discount. Vincent's mouth tightened. You're not a discount. I know that now, I said. Learning late is still learning. He stood. You want me here when they come for their supervised pickup? Yes, I said. I want eyes that aren't in love. He grinned. Consider me blind to their charms. That afternoon, I opened the blue folder. Deed and property tax receipts, the photo of the quitclaim deed draft, and another paper I had almost forgotten. A printout from Lauren's email I found on my printer tray 6 months ago, back when my Wi-Fi kept connecting to theirs by accident. Subject: best path to transfer title without probate. Body: mother-in-law is sweet but stubborn, we want to help her now. The lawyer she'd emailed replied with a list. 1. Have her sign a deed to a trust. 2. Record it before she changes her mind. 3. If she resists, establish tenants in common by helping with taxes and claiming occupancy. There it was. Not Manny's plan. Not at first. Lauren. I hadn't wanted to see it. I had blamed the boy I raised, not the woman who taught him how to make a scheme look like a hug. The tea had gone cold. I poured it out, the sink water ran metallic and loud. My phone buzzed again. A new text, unknown number. Unknown, we can still do this the easy way. Lauren. I typed without pausing. Me, the easy way is you bring back my $2,000. 3 dots. Stop. 3 dots again. Unknown, we already spent it on your improvements. Me, then bring receipts. 3 dots. Stop. No reply. I slid my phone face down. Then I pulled a pen from the drawer and wrote a list on an index card. Locksmith invoice copied. Photos of paint plus furniture moved. Empty tin plus photo from last week. Forged tenant letter plus my known signature samples. Old quitclaim deed draft printout. Lauren email printout. Witnesses Joanna plus Vincent. Police incident number from last night. I underlined signature samples. Then I walked to the hall closet and pulled down the plastic bin with all my old job forms. I laid out tax returns, doctor consent forms, and Manny's field trip slips from school. Every Maria Lopez I had ever written in my own hand. The smell of old paper rose dry and a little sweet, like book glue in time. I felt steady for the first time in days. Paper is heavy in the right hands. My doorbell rang. Short, polite chimes, not Manny's knock, not Lauren's fists. I opened the door. Joanna stood there with a folder and a face like a shield. I made copies of everything you texted me, she said, and I brought my little recording pen. She held up a pen with a tiny red light. It hears what people think is private. Joanna, I said, you're a gift. She hugged me tight. She smelled like fabric softener and peppermint. Her cheek was cold, the air outside had shifted, sharper now. We set the folder on the table and mapped out where the police would stand tomorrow, where we'd put the boxes, what we'd record, what we'd refuse. The house felt like a stage now, but for once the script was mine. Joanna pointed at the tin. Keep that where you can see it, she said. Why? So you remember who you were before any of this, she said, a woman who made something out of little bills. I touched the dent again. I thought of Manny's hand on my tin, on my keys, on my doorknob. Of Lauren's hand on her phone, printing words to make their wants look legal. The phone buzzed on the table. A new message from Manny this time. Manny will be there at 10 with an officer. Don't make it ugly, Ma. I swallowed. My throat felt tight, like it used to after night shifts when the steam from the dishwasher stole my breath. Me, bring boxes, bring ID, bring receipts. He didn't reply. Joanna put her hand over mine. Her palm was warm and dry. You can do this, she said. I know, I said. And I did. I picked up the forged letter one more time, looked at the fake version of my name, and let the anger pass through me like a wave that didn't knock me over this time. Then I slid the letter into the blue folder. The folder clicked shut. A clean, crisp sound like a promise. I was about to make tea when I remembered something else, the old fireproof lockbox Manny tried to fix last winter. It sat in the hall closet under the coats, sticky latch and all. I pulled it down and turned the dial. It squeaked open. Inside, a smaller envelope I had forgotten, the notary card from my closing, with the woman's number scribbled on the back and a note in her neat hand. Call me if someone tries to record anything without you. I had laughed when she wrote it. Who would try, I thought. Who indeed? The notary's name was Ms. Alvarez. She'd eyed my son that day, the way he hovered over the paperwork as if starring long enough could change ink. I dialed. She answered on the second ring, voice brisk, friendly. Ms. Alvarez, this is Maria Lopez. I bought the little yellow house on Birch. Oh, she said, you were my favorite. Who keeps their IDs that organized anymore? How's the house? Mine, I said, but my son and his wife are trying to make it ours. She made a low sound. Tell me what you need. Tomorrow morning, the police are supervising them to pick up their things. They forged my signature on a letter today. I need someone to look at it with real eyes. I can swing by, she said. I have a mobile stamp and I know the officer on your beat. The relief hit so fast it made my knees weak. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me yet, she replied. Thank me after we prevent a bad story from becoming a legal myth. We hung up. Joanna raised her eyebrows. Back up. Back up, I said. We sat a little while longer silent, the way people do when they're both talking to themselves inside. The house creaked as the night settled. Paint smell faded into something faint, like chalk. I could hear a dog bark 3 houses over. My clock ticked steady, not hurrying, not slowing. I put the tin back on the shelf above the table. Not under the bed. Not in a closet. Where I could see it. Because I finally understood, the tin wasn't just a bank. It was a lesson I'd been teaching the wrong way. If you hide what you love, people think they can take it. If you set it in the light, they have to look you in the eyes first. I washed the cups. The water was hot enough to sting. I liked it that way. As I dried my hands, my phone lit again. An email this time, from the realtor Manny had just explored options with. Subject confirming Saturday walkthrough, 11 a.m. Body, thanks Manny, excited to see 422 Birch before we list. We'll bring comps. Attached was a scanned agency form. At the bottom, a squiggle that tried to be my name. Not a letter. A listing. Not a threat. A plan already in motion. I stared at it until the words slid out of focus and came back sharp. And behind the attachment, one more file, a neat PDF named Mother Occupancy Accommodation DocX. I clicked it. A pre-written statement claiming I was mentally overwhelmed and needed assistance with decisions. Signed by a nurse I'd never met. Lauren had gone further than I thought. This wasn't about fresh paint or better curtains. It was about control. About paper that turns love into a tool. I printed it. The machine hummed warm. The paper slid out hot and thin. I placed the new printouts on top of the stack for the lawyer. Joanna read the subject lines and let out a long breath. Okay, she said, now we know what they want. What? I asked. She looked at me, kind and fierce. Not your house, Maria, she said, your voice. The clock clicked over to 9:00 p.m. I wrote one more index card and stuck it to the blue folder. Tomorrow, we keep my voice. Then I turned off the kitchen light. The bulb cooled with a tiny ping. I listened to it, smiling like a bell calling me to sleep. But sleep didn't come. Because just before midnight, a car idled outside for a long time. Headlights slid across my ceiling. A door opened, closed, footsteps on the porch. A soft scratch near the lock. I stood on the other side of the door, holding my breath. And through the wood, a whisper I knew better than my own heartbeat. Open up, Ma, we just want to talk. When I looked through the peephole, the porch light caught 2 faces, Manny's tight with frustration and a stranger's calm and rehearsed. The man held a clipboard and wore a small badge that gleamed under the bulb. Ma, Manny whispered, this is just a notary. We're fixing things so you don't have to deal with paperwork later. Paperwork, that word again, always used to sound helpful. Now it sounded like theft in slow motion. The notary, maybe 30, clean shirt, nervous smile, raised his hand. Mrs. Lopez, I just need your signature to verify a document. It's nothing serious. I didn't move. Show me. He hesitated. Manny glanced at him, then back at the door. Come on, Ma, open up. Don't make it weird. You're standing on my porch at midnight with papers, I said. It's already weird. Through the wood, I heard the notary whisper, she doesn't seem comfortable. And Manny said sharper, she gets like this. Just let me handle it. He knocked harder, open up before I call Lauren. That was the moment my heart stopped shaking. Call whoever you want, I said, but you'll do it from the sidewalk. I picked up my phone and started recording. The red circle blinked back at me like courage. Then I dialed Joanna. She answered on the first ring, Maria. They're here. I'm on my way, she said. They stayed on the porch until the blue flash of Joanna's old Honda lit the driveway. When she stepped out, robe over jeans, flashlight in hand, Manny's shoulders sank. Hi, Aunt Jo, he said, trying a smile. Do Aunt Jo me, she said, walking straight up. You come to your mother's house past midnight with a stranger and paperwork. You lost your manners or your mind. The notary cleared his throat. Ma'am, I was told she requested this signing. She didn't, Joanna snapped. Now leave before I make this your last job tonight. He looked between them nervous. I'm sorry, I didn't know. He hurried to his car and drove off, leaving Manny alone under the porch light. The night was heavy with humidity. I could hear crickets far off, confused by the commotion. Manny exhaled loud. Ma, you're making this harder than it needs to be. I opened the door just enough for him to see my face. You already did that. His voice dropped. Lauren said this would go smoother if you just cooperated. Cooperated with what? He hesitated. You'll understand in the morning. Then he turned and left. By sunrise, my front step was littered with footprints and 2 sheets of damp paper that had blown from his folder. I picked them up. One was a power of attorney form. The other, a copy of my house title with transfer pending stamped across it. My stomach turned cold. I made coffee but couldn't taste it. The smell of paint still lingered, faint and sour, like guilt that wouldn't air out. At 9 sharp, the knock came again, this time firm and official. 2 uniformed officers stood outside, one older woman, one young man. Mrs. Lopez, the woman said kindly, we're here to supervise a property retrieval for your son and daughter-in-law. I nodded, I know, come in. Behind me, Joanna stood with her phone ready. The red light on her recording pen blinked faintly in her shirt pocket. Everything being documented, I said. The officers looked relieved. Good, the woman said, let's keep it calm. Manny and Lauren arrived 5 minutes later, carrying boxes and plastic tubs. Lauren wore sunglasses, though the sun hadn't broken through the clouds yet. She walked in like a realtor at an open house. Manny looked smaller than I remembered, unshaven, anxious. They began packing quickly, clothes, tools, dishes they'd brought. Lauren tried to grab the framed photos from the storage box she'd made earlier. Leave those, I said. They're family pictures, she said. They're my family, I corrected. The officer cleared his throat. Let's stick to personal belongings only, please. Lauren muttered something I didn't catch. Manny said quietly, just leave it. Joanna stood by the kitchen counter, whispering updates into her phone for the lawyer she'd found. Everything's being recorded, she kept saying. Lauren's eyes darted toward her once, then away. When they finished, Manny carried the last box to the door. He turned to me, voice low, you're really going through with this? I'm keeping what's mine, I said. Lauren spoke before he could. You're paranoid, Maria, you're letting your friends poison your mind. I looked at her hands, nails perfect, gold ring flashing in the light. Funny, I said, you were the one who took my savings and called it help. Her jaw tightened. We invested that in upgrades for this house. Then bring me the receipts, I said again. She didn't answer. The older officer stepped forward. That's everything. Lauren nodded stiffly. Yes. Then you're free to go, he said. She looked at me, something mean flickering under her calm. This isn't over. Good, I said, neither am I. When they left, silence filled the house again. It didn't feel peaceful. It felt hollow, like a church after everyone's gone home. Joanna turned to me, you okay? I don't know, I said. I keep thinking of all the times I said yes when I should have said no. She poured us both tea. The steam curled between us, carrying the faint scent of mint. You said yes because you believed family meant safety, she said. Now you know it means choice. I nodded slowly, but before I could reply, my phone buzzed again. A number I didn't know. The caller ID said, County Records Office. I answered, hello. A woman's voice, polite. Mrs. Lopez, we received your title transfer request, but we're missing your ID verification. My what? She repeated it, the property transfer you initiated this week. My heart dropped, I didn't initiate anything. Silence, then someone used your information, we'll flag it immediately. I closed my eyes, thank you. When I hung up, Joanna looked at me, what happened? They tried to file the sale already, I said. She whistled softly, they don't stop, do they? No, I said, but neither will I. By noon, I was at the lawyer's office, Attorney Trin, the one Vincent recommended. Her office smelled of paper and eucalyptus tea. She was small, calm, and the kind of person who spoke like every sentence had already been thought through twice. I've seen this pattern before, she said, flipping through the folder I'd brought. Financial abuse by adult children, you'd be shocked how common it is. I'm already shocked, I said. She smiled faintly, then you're ahead of most. She looked at the forged letter, the tenant document, and the fake listing. Her eyebrows barely moved, but her voice sharpened. This, she said, tapping the page, is criminal, forgery and fraud. You can file police charges and a restraining order simultaneously. Will it stop them? It'll make them think twice, she said, especially if we attach evidence. I handed her Joanna's recording pen. It has their midnight visit. Her eyes lit up, perfect. She plugged it into her laptop. The sound filled the room, Manny's voice, pleading, Lauren's whisper, the notary's confusion. Trin leaned back, open and shut manipulation. They were trying to get you to sign under pressure, we'll use this. The air conditioning hummed softly. My hands felt warm. For the first time, I wasn't trembling. Trin slid a form toward me. This is your statement, everything you've told me, I'll file it today. I picked up the pen. The metal felt heavy, cool against my fingers. I signed my name slowly, each letter deliberate, real. When I finished, she smiled. That's the only signature that matters. Outside, the sun burned high, hard light bouncing off every car window. I stood in the parking lot for a long minute, breathing in the heat, smelling asphalt and exhaust, real, ugly, alive smells. Joanna waited by the car. How'd it go? She's filing charges, I said. Joanna grinned. Good, time they learned you're not an old lady to push around. I almost laughed. Maybe I am an old lady, just not the kind they thought. That evening, I changed my phone number. I blocked Manny and Lauren from every account. I set up online alerts for my property. Then I sat on the porch with a glass of water and watched the sun fade behind the trees. The street was quiet except for the sound of sprinklers and a dog barking somewhere far away. For the first time in weeks, the air felt like it belonged to me again. But as I leaned back in my chair, my phone buzzed with one final message from an unknown number. You think you won, Maria, but you forgot who helped you get that house in the first place. No name, no signature, just that line. I stared at it, the screen glowing blue in the dusk. My heart pounded slow and heavy, because I knew exactly whose voice would say those words. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. You forgot who helped you get that house in the first place. No signature, no emoji. But I didn't need ones. That sentence carried a ghost's weight, the rhythm, the arrogance, the hidden threat. It was my ex-husband, Raphael. I hadn't heard from him in over 10 years, not since he left with the waitress from the bar down on Roosevelt Avenue. Back then, he'd taken my last 2 paychecks and said, "You'll thank me later, I'm freeing you." Freedom, it turned out, came with overdue bills and a bruised credit score. And now, after a decade of silence, he was texting me about my house. The next morning, I took my coffee black. The bitterness matched the day. The air was heavy with rain, thunder hiding behind the clouds, waiting for its cue. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. Something pulsed low in my gut, that same tightness I felt when I used to balance checks with $5 left until payday. The page loaded. Then I froze. A new joint account appeared. M. Lopez and R. Lopez. I hadn't opened it. Inside, 2 transactions. Deposit $1,200 from Manny Lopez. Withdrawal $1,200 to R. Lopez. The dates. 2 weeks ago. Right before the home improvements started. The world seemed to tilt slightly. I clicked the transaction details, same routing number as my personal savings. That meant someone had linked my name, my ID, my social security number. And Raphael had cashed out. I called the bank. A woman named Carmen answered, polite but distant. Ma'am, can I verify your address and date of birth? I did, my throat felt dry. She paused, I see the joint account. It was opened in branch using photo ID and a cosigner. Looks like both parties were present. That's impossible, I said. She hesitated. The file lists an ID with your photo. My chest went tight. I want a copy. I can't email it, but you can request it at your branch. I thanked her, hung up, and just sat there. My hands were trembling, but not from fear, from fury. Because I finally saw the pattern. Manny hadn't acted alone. Lauren hadn't planned this from scratch. Raphael had been pulling the strings. I drove to the branch. The smell of wet pavement and exhaust filled the car, and I rolled down the window just to breathe. Thunder cracked once far away. Inside, the air conditioning was too cold. The floor gleamed. The pen on the counter was chained down like everything else here. A young manager led me to her cubicle. How can I help you, Ms. Lopez? I need to see the file for a joint account opened under my name. She typed quickly. Her nails clicked like tiny hammers. Here, she frowned. Opened 2 Fridays ago, signature looks him. She turned the screen toward me. There it was. A copy of my driver's license, except it wasn't my driver's license. My hair was shorter in the photo, my eyes looked duller. And the signature at the bottom, smooth, practiced, forged. The photo was old, from before I renewed my ID back when I still wore Raphael's last name. Can I get a print? I asked. She looked uneasy. I shouldn't, but. I slipped her my card, please. She printed it, handed it to me, and whispered, This looks bad, Ms. Lopez. I smiled grimly. You have no idea. Outside, the rain started. Thick drops, slow at first, then heavy, turning the sidewalks dark. I sat in my car, staring at the paper. There, next to the forged signature, was Raphael's real one. Not shaky, not hesitant. Confident like he'd done it before. My hands clenched. He'd used my old ID, which meant he'd kept it all these years. And if he'd convinced Manny to help him open the account, that meant my son had been talking to him behind my back. My throat closed. The betrayal wasn't just legal, it was blood deep. I called Attorney Trin. She answered on the second ring. Mrs. Lopez, are you safe? Yes, I said, but it's worse than we thought. I told her everything, the account, the photo, Raphael's signature. She was silent for a beat, then said, He's trying to establish a shared asset. If he ties his name to your bank account, he can claim contribution toward the property. Meaning he could argue the house isn't solely yours. I gripped the steering wheel. He didn't give me a cent for this house. I believe you, she said, but courts believe paper. Bring me that file. When I got home, the sky was bruised with clouds. Joanna's car was already in my driveway. She was sitting on the porch, wrapped in her red raincoat, holding a thermos. She stood when she saw me. You look like you've seen a ghost. I have, I said, handing her the printout. Her eyes widened. He's back. Apparently. She shook her head. That man's like mildew, disappears when you scrub but comes back when it's humid. I almost laughed, almost. We went inside. The house smelled like rain and the faint scent of lemon oil from the night before. Comfortable smells, honest ones. Joanna sat across from me at the table. So what now? Now, I said, I prove he's behind this. How? By finding the link between him and them. At 3 p.m., I called Manny. He didn't answer. At 3:15, Lauren texted instead. He's busy, don't start drama. I ignored it. Then I did something I never thought I would. I called Raphael. The number still worked. He picked up on the third ring, voice too calm. Maria, long times. Why are you in my bank accounts? He chuckled softly. Straight to business, I miss that about you. Answer me. He exhaled. Manny reached out. He said you were overwhelmed. I offered to help manage things. You always hated paperwork. My stomach turned. You forged my name. I protected you, he said, before you gave everything to lawyers. The casual arrogance in his tone made something inside me snap. You've been gone 10 years, I said. You don't get to use my name like it's a spare tool in your box. You wouldn't have that house without me, he said. Who fixed your credit? Who filed your taxes those years after I left? I clenched the phone. You filed because you owed back taxes. He ignored it. I gave you a foundation. You're lucky. Lucky, I said quietly. I washed dishes 6 nights a week while you played savior in a new woman's kitchen. Silence, then his voice dropped, soft and cold. You always were ungrateful. Ungrateful women don't lose everything, I said. They rebuild it. He laughed low and dark. Good luck proving anything, Maria. Family keeps secrets. He hung up. I sat there staring at the quiet phone and realized I wasn't shaking anymore. I was focused. That evening, I met Trin again. She listened, took notes, and pulled out a small recorder. We'll get a subpoena for bank footage, she said. If Raphael or Manny were in that branch, we'll have proof. She looked up. Do you still have your old driver's license? I nodded. In a box. Good, that proves they used a stolen document. She leaned forward. Maria, I need to ask, do you want this to go criminal or civil? What's the difference? Civil means you stop them, criminal means you punish them. I thought for a long time. Then I said both. That night, the storm broke. Rain lashed the windows hard and steady. I stood in the kitchen, watching water streak down the glass, remembering every year I'd spent alone rebuilding from his mess. I thought about Manny as a boy, the way he used to wait up for me after my shifts, falling asleep on the couch with the TV still glowing. When had he learned to lie so easily? The thunder outside rolled deep, shaking the house. I pressed my palm to the counter, grounding myself in something solid. That's when headlights swept across my front yard again. Same car as before, a dark sedan. I grabbed my phone, recording automatically. The car idled, then the driver's door opened. Raphael stepped out. Older, heavier, but still carrying that same smug confidence. He walked up the path and knocked once. Calm, patient, like he had all the time in the world. Maria, he called softly, we should talk before lawyers get involved. I didn't answer. He tried the doorknob. It held. Come on, he said, voice lower now. You can't hide behind cops forever. I lifted my phone and snapped a photo through the window. The flash startled him. He stepped back, scowling. Then, without another word, he got in his car and drove off. I texted the picture to Trin and Joanna. He came to the house. TRINH, good, now we have visual proof of harassment. JOANNA, next time call me first, I'm 2 streets away with a bat. I smiled despite myself. At midnight, the rain stopped. The street was empty again, puddles shining under the streetlights. I went to the hall closet, pulled out the old tin and set it on the table. It was scratched, dented, but still mine. Inside, I put the new photo, Raphael at my porch, on top of the forged documents. Then I locked the lid. I whispered, now you're part of the story too. The next morning, Trin called. Maria, she said, you need to sit down for this. What happened? The bank just sent over the security footage. Raphael wasn't alone. I gripped the phone. Who was with him? She paused. Manny, she said, your son co-signed the account. When Trin said it, my breath left my body. Like someone had punched the air out of me. Manny gave him my ID. Yes, she said softly, it's all on camera. The timestamp matches the day the account opened. I pressed my hand to my forehead. The room tilted. The hum of the refrigerator grew louder until it drowned out her words. I whispered, he helped him steal from me. Trin's voice stayed calm. Don't jump yet, let me explain what we have. I closed my eyes and listened, the way I used to when I wanted the truth more than comfort. She described the footage. Raphael entering the branch with a manila envelope. Manny right behind him, nervous, looking around. They sit at the desk. The banker slides a form across the counter. Raphael signs confidently, then Manny pulls something from the envelope, my old ID. He hands it over, smiles, nods. The banker scans it, stamps, clicks the keys, done. Raphael and Manny shake hands as they leave. That's it, a small, ordinary scene. But behind it, a betrayal so deliberate it made my chest ache. I asked quietly, can I get a copy of that footage? It's being sent to me, Trin said. I'll keep it secure, but Maria, this changes things. How? This isn't just fraud, it's identity theft with evidence. You can press full charges on both. I didn't answer right away. The silence between us hummed like a bad wire. Mrs. Lopez. I heard you, I said. I just need a minute to remember how to breathe. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen and stared at the clock. The minute hand trembled slightly, like even it didn't want to move forward. Outside, the air was bright and sharp, but I couldn't feel any of it. I thought of Manny's face as a baby, the way his tiny hand used to wrap around my finger like it was a promise. And now that same hand had signed my name for someone else's gain. The kettle whistled, I didn't remember turning it on. I poured the tea and left it untouched. By afternoon, Trin texted again. TRINH, bank confirmed withdrawal details. $1,200 moved to Raphael's account, then $2,000 cash withdrawal day after. TRINH, that matches the amount missing from your tin. I stared at the messages until my vision blurred. They'd taken everything, not just money, not just walls, my trust, my years, my pride. And I realized something else. Manny hadn't just been manipulated. He'd chosen this. That evening, Joanna stopped by with soup. Chicken and cilantro, the kind that filled the air with comfort whether you were hungry or not. I didn't touch it. She sat across from me, eyes soft. What did Trin say? They have footage. Of what? Manny giving Raphael my ID. Joanna's spoon froze midair. Oh, Maria. I looked at the tin sitting on the table. Every time I saved, every time I said no to something small so he could have something big, it led here. Joanna leaned forward. Don't carry all the blame. It's what mothers do, I said quietly. She reached across and squeezed my hand. Her skin was warm, grounding, and it's what mothers unlearn too. The next morning, Trin called again. Meet me at the precinct, she said. The detectives want to document everything. Bring your folder. The word detectives made my stomach twist. But I went. The station smelled like wet concrete and coffee, the kind that's been reheated too many times. A young detective named Harris led me to a small room. No mirrors, just gray walls and buzzing lights. He spoke gently. We've reviewed the footage. You're doing the right thing, Mrs. Lopez. He handed me a paper cup of water. The rim felt rough against my lip. Then he asked questions. Precise ones, dates, accounts, copies, texts. Each answer peeled another layer of denial from me. When I finished, he said, You've built a solid case. Most people never have this much proof. I didn't want proof, I said. I wanted peace. He nodded. Sometimes one leads to the other. Trin entered with her tablet, eyes sharp, voice steady. We'll file for a restraining order and press felony fraud. The DA will likely pursue restitution. Restitution? They'll owe you the money back and more. I looked at her. You think that'll fix this? She shook her head. No, but it'll stop them from doing it again. That night, I came home exhausted. The house was dark except for the hallway light I'd left on for comfort. The air smelled faintly like soap and something else, metal maybe. I turned toward the kitchen and froze. The back door was open. My heart slammed. The wind moved the curtains. The lock was bent, the frame chipped. Someone had forced their way in. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and called 911. Someone broke into my house, I said. The operator's voice was calm. Stay outside, ma'am, officers are on their way. I waited on the porch, clutching the phone, rain misting my hair. 2 cars arrived fast, lights flashing red and blue across the wet pavement. Officer Daniels, the same one from before, recognized me. Mrs. Lopez, stay here, he said. We'll check inside. They moved through the house, flashlights sweeping the walls. After a few minutes, one of them came out holding something in a plastic bag. A paper, folded, crumpled. Found this on the kitchen counter, he said. Daniels opened it carefully and read aloud. Stop making this public. Family matters stay in the family. No signature. But at the bottom, written in thick black marker, were 3 letters. ML. Manny Lopez. I couldn't feel my legs for a second. Daniels looked at me. Do you want to press charges for trespassing? I nodded, yes, for everything. He placed the note into an evidence bag. Good, because this one's personal. Later that night, the house smelled like damp wood and fear. Joanna stayed over, refusing to leave. We sat in the living room, the window cracked open to let the rain sounds in. You think it was him? She asked. I know it was, I said. The handwriting's his. She exhaled. What now? I wait for the truth to finish burning. The next day, I met Trin again. She looked tired but triumphant. We got the security footage file officially certified, she said, and we traced the IP address used to file the fake title transfer. It came from Lauren's laptop. So all three of them. Yes. She slid a new folder across her desk. We'll file the complaint this afternoon. This one includes criminal identity theft, fraud, and unlawful entry. I stared at the stack of paper. So many pages, so much noise. But each one was a brick in a wall I was finally building for me. Trin's tone softened. Do you want me to notify them formally, or do you want the police to? I thought about Manny, about the day he left for college, about the sandwiches I used to pack, about the first time he called me Ma in a tired, grown-up voice. Let the police do it, I said. If I hear his voice right now, I might forget who he's become. She nodded, understood. That evening, I got the call. Detective Harris again. We served the notice, he said. Raphael been detained for questioning, Lauren's cooperating, your son refused comment. The words hit like gravel, hard, uneven, real. I sat on the porch after that, watching the sunset bleed into the clouds. The sky looked tired, so was I. Joanna came by again with lemonade. She sat next to me quietly, no advice this time. After a long silence, I said, You ever notice how the smell of rain always comes back no matter how long the drought? She smiled, You're talking in poetry again. Maybe, I said, maybe that's how I heal. The next morning, Harris called once more. His voice was cautious. Mrs. Lopez, we recovered something else from Raphael's car. What is it? A folder labeled House Plan. It had printed copies of your title, tax documents, and a fake medical statement. My stomach dropped. A medical statement. He hesitated. It claims you're not mentally capable of managing your finances, signed by a Dr. L. Stone. I don't know any Dr. Stone. I figured, he said, it's fake too, but here's the kicker, there's an email chain attached. He paused between Raphael and Lauren, subject line getting Manny on board. The room spun, send it to Trin, I whispered. Already did, he said. That afternoon, I met with Trin one last time before the case filing. She laid out the evidence like puzzle pieces. 1. Bank footage, Manny handing over ID. 2. Fake doctor's letter, Lauren's doing. 3. Threat note, Manny's handwriting. 4. Fake title transfer and joint account, Raphael's execution. She looked at me. This isn't a family dispute anymore, Maria. It's a criminal network built out of your name. I took a long breath, then let's end it. She nodded, we will, but first you need to rest. I'll rest when my name's clean again. That night I tried to sleep, but dreams came in fragments, Manny's childhood laugh, Raphael's hand signing where mine should have been, Lauren's perfume mixing with the smell of wet paint. I woke up before dawn. The house was quiet. The air smelled like fresh earth after rain. I walked to the kitchen, made coffee, and looked out the window. The garden glistened, green and alive. On the table sat the tin. And next to it, my phone, buzzing with a new message. It was from an unknown number. You think this ends in court, you raised him, you taught him how to survive, don't pretend you're innocent. I felt a chill creep up my spine. Because this time, the message didn't sound like Raphael. It sounded like Manny. When I saw the location ping, just 2 streets away, my heart started pounding in slow, heavy beats. Manny was close. Too close. It was barely dawn. The light outside was pale, the kind that turns every shadow into a question. I didn't move for a long moment. I just stared at the glowing dot on the screen. The message had come from Maple Street, Joanna's street. My throat went dry. Was he watching me? Lure her. I dialed Joanna. No answer. Then again, still nothing. The third time she picked up, groggy, her voice rough. Maria, it's 6 in the morning. Lock your doors, I whispered, right now. That woke her up. What happened? Manny's nearby. I got a message, came from your street. I heard her curse softly, then the click of her deadbolt. You think he's watching you? I don't know, I said, but I think he's unraveling. Want me to call the police? No, I said after a pause, not yet, let me handle this first. I spent the next hour packing the living room, the sound of my own footsteps echoing in the stillness. The smell of stale coffee lingered from last night, sharp and bitter. Every few minutes I checked the window, the street was quiet. At 8, I called Trin. He's nearby, I told her. He sent me a message from down the block. Trin's voice was firm. You can't confront him, Maria, let the officers handle it. I'm not confronting, I said. I just need to understand why. Why, she repeated. Yes, he had a good job, a life, a wife. Why did he do this? She sighed softly, because greed and guilt sometimes sound like love when you're desperate. Her words settled heavy in my chest. I'll have the detective increase patrols around your house, she said. Please don't go near him. I won't, I lied. By noon, I couldn't sit still. I took the photo of him and Raphael from the bank footage and just stared at it, the way Manny leaned in, his nervous smile, the guilt already written in his body language. He wasn't evil. He was lost. But the path he'd taken was paved with my trust. I knew where Raphael used to stay, a motel by the highway, cheap, loud, the kind that always smelled like cigarettes and bleach. If Manny was nearby, he'd be there. So I drove. The air was thick with summer heat, heavy and humming. The asphalt shimmered like glass. I parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest of the way, the sound of gravel crunching under my shoes. Outside room 12, I heard voices. Raphael's deep, sure. And Manny's quieter, tense. I stood close enough to hear without seeing. You said it was handled, Manny said, voice shaking. Now she's got lawyers, cops, everything. She's bluffing, Raphael replied. She's always been dramatic, she'll back down. She won't, Manny said, you don't know her anymore. I heard a low chuckle. You think you do? You couldn't even buy a car without her help. You needed her to coast in a life. Stop it, Manny snapped. You used me. The sound of something, a fist hitting the wall maybe. Raphael's voice dropped. I made you a man, you should thank me. Manny's reply came out tight. You made me a thief. My hands shook around my phone. Because in that moment I realized this wasn't partnership. It was control, passed down like a family heirloom of manipulation. Then Raphael's tone changed. You think you can crawl back to her now, after everything, she'll never forgive you. I don't want forgiveness, Manny said. I just want this over. You end this, you end me, Raphael warned. And don't forget, I've got the files, every account, every message. There was a pause. Then a dull thud, a scuffle. Give me the folder, Manny shouted. I couldn't see, but I heard movement, the crash of something breaking, a table tipping, papers scattering. Then silence. I waited. 10 seconds. 20. Then the door burst open. Manny stumbled out, clutching a folder, eyes wild. He froze when he saw me. Muzz. I just stared at him. What did you do? Behind him, Raphael groaned, holding his side. He's fine, Manny said quickly. He tried to. I didn't want to know. Manny, I said quietly, give me the folder. He looked down at it, then back at me. His face softened, the boy I'd raised flickering through the man he'd become. Then he handed it over. Inside were documents, printouts, forged letters, title drafts, fake receipts. And something else, a small flash drive taped to the inside cover. What's on this? I asked. Everything, he said. Emails, transfers, even Lauren's messages with Raphael. Why? I whispered. Why did you do it? He looked at the ground. Because I thought I could fix things. I thought if I helped him, he'd leave you alone, but he never stopped. Then why not come to me? He laughed bitterly. You'd already stopped trusting me. Because you stopped giving me reasons to, I said. Raphael stumbled into the doorway, face red, eyes burning. You both think you're heroes now? You stole from me, boy. Manny turned, trembling. You stole from her. Raphael spat on the ground. She stole my life first. That broke me. The way he said it, like everything bad that ever happened was my fault, like every bruise I hid under long sleeves never counted. I straightened. You don't get to rewrite history, Raphael. He sneered. We'll see what the judge says. Good, I said, because the judge is going to see this. I lifted the folder. For once, he didn't have a comeback. Manny's voice broke the silence. Ma, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it, I said, but truth might. Then I turned and walked away. At the station, I gave Detective Harris the folder and the flash drive. He called Trin in immediately. When she plugged the drive into her laptop, the room filled with quiet clicks and the low hum of the fan. She opened a file, hundreds of messages between Raphael and Lauren. Subject lines like, "Transfer ready. Tell Manny to keep her calm. We can use the doctor letter again." It was all there, every ugly secret. Harris whistled, "This is gold." Trin looked at me, "You just burned their whole plan down, Maria." By that evening, the police arrested Raphael on charges of fraud, identity theft, and attempted coercion. Lauren was taken in for conspiracy. Manny wasn't charged, not yet. But he was listed as a cooperating witness. I didn't know how to feel about that. Relieved, betrayed. Both. 2 days later, Harris called. "They've agreed to a plea deal," he said. Lauren confessed. She said Raphael planned to sell your house and use the profits to clear his debts. Manny gave up the flash drive voluntarily. And Raphael refuses to talk, but he's done. I exhaled slowly, "Thank you." He hesitated. "There's one more thing, Manny wants to see you." My throat tightened. "Why?" "He says he needs to explain something." I met him in the visitor's room at the station. He looked smaller than I remembered, like the lies had finally worn him down. The air smelled of bleach and cheap coffee. He sat across from me, hands clasped, eyes red. "Ma," he said quietly, "I messed up." I didn't answer. He swallowed. "I thought I could control him. I thought I could keep you safe if I played along, but I just made it worse." "You didn't protect me," I said. "You joined him." Tears slipped down his face. "I know, and I'll live with that forever, but I helped end it, did I?" I looked at him for a long time. The man sitting in front of me wasn't the boy I'd raised, but he was Raphael either. He was something in between, still choosing who to be. Finally, I said, "You told the truth, that's a start." He nodded. "I don't expect forgiveness." "Good," I said, "because forgiveness is earned, not expected." He tried to smile. "You sound like Grandma." I almost smiled back. She was right about everything, even the parts that hurt. We sat in silence for a while. The clock ticked above us, each second steady and slow. Before he left, he said, "You're still my mom." And I said, "Then act like it." That night, I came home alone. The rain had stopped, but the ground was still wet, smelling of soil and endings. I opened all the windows, let the house breathe. Then I lit a candle on the kitchen counter, lavender and smoke, soft and clean. I looked around at my little home, my walls, my table, my garden visible through the window, and for the first time in months it felt truly mine. But the peace didn't come with ease. It came with scars. Because every sound in the night still made me look twice. Every phone buzz made my chest tighten. Still, I was learning to trust the quiet again. 2 days later, Trin called with one final update. "The DA finalized the restitution order," she said. "You'll get every cent back and full ownership confirmed in court." I smiled. "It's not about the money anymore." "I know," she said softly. "It's about getting your name back." "Yes," I said, "exactly." Then she paused. "Manny agreed to testify against Raphael if it goes to trial." I was silent for a moment. Then maybe he's finally learning too. That night, Joanna came by. She brought empanadas and her laughter, filling the kitchen with warmth. We ate, we talked, and when she left, I stood at the door for a long time, watching the lights fade down the street. Then I whispered to the empty air, "I forgive you, my son, but I won't forget." Because forgiveness doesn't erase, it rebuilds. And sometimes, rebuilding starts with locking your door for the last time, not to keep people out, but to remind yourself you're safe inside. The next morning, a new email came in from Detective Harris. Subject line, "Evidence confirmation, case closed." I opened it. Inside was the final photo, Raphael's forged ID next to mine. 2 faces, 2 signatures. One truth. And beneath it, a single line from Harris. "You did good, Maria, you stood your ground." When I saw the email from Cooper James, attorney for Manuel Lopez, my stomach tightened. After everything, after court filings and police statements and tearful apologies, another letter. Another man speaking for my son. I stared at the subject line, "Request for meeting, personal closure." My first thought was anger. My second was exhaustion. But by the third deep breath, I understood something important. I couldn't heal halfway. If I left the door cracked, the wind of unfinished business would never stop blowing through my peace. So I wrote back, tell him I'll meet him, 1 hour, at the diner on 5th, the one with the yellow booths, noon tomorrow. The same place where I'd spent half my life wiping counters, saving tips, dreaming of walls with my own name on the deed. It felt right that it would end there. The next day, I sat by the window. The air smelled like bacon grease and hot coffee, that familiar working-class perfume. Outside, traffic hummed steady and normal. When Manny walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd cut his hair short, lost weight, his eyes looked older, clearer. He wasn't wearing guilt-like armor anymore, just plain clothes and something close to humility. He saw me and paused, uncertain. I nodded once, he took the seat across from me. Neither of us spoke for a moment. The waitress poured 2 coffees and left without asking what we wanted. She must have sensed the air was heavy enough. Finally, Manny said, I didn't come to talk about the case. Good, I said, then talk about the truth. He looked down at his cup, then back up. I thought I knew better than you. I thought I was saving you from mistakes you didn't see, but really I was saving myself from the shame of needing you. I let the words sit between us. The sound of clinking dishes filled the silence. He continued, quieter now. When Dad showed up, I thought helping him meant fixing our family. I didn't realize I was breaking it for good. I looked out the window, where sunlight caught on passing cars, turning windshields into mirrors. You're your father's son, I said softly, but you don't have to be his shadow. He nodded, I know, that's why I wanted to see you, to tell you something. He slid an envelope across the table. My name, Mom, written in the handwriting I used to see on Mother's Day cards, back when his letters were full of love, not legal ink. I hesitated before touching it. What's this? He exhaled, it's the house money, my share of what I have left. I sold my car, took a job out of state. I can't undo what I did, but I can start repaying what I owe. I didn't open it. I just stared at the paper, the weight of it, the apology pressed into every fold. You can't buy forgiveness, Manny. He met my eyes. I know, but maybe I can earn it back piece by piece. Something inside me, the part that had been clenched for months, softened. Not forgiveness yet, but the beginning of it. We talked for nearly an hour. About small things, weather, work. About his therapy, court-mandated but helping. He said he was staying with friends, saving up for his own place. He didn't ask to come home. And I didn't offer. When we finally stood to leave, he hesitated. Ma, he said, voice low, are you okay? I thought about everything, the forged papers, the late-night knocks, the paint smell, the fear. Then about now, my locks changed, my garden blooming, my name cleared. I'm more than okay, I said, I'm free. He smiled, small but real, then I did one thing right. He walked out first. Through the diner window, I watched him cross the street, alone, unsteady, but walking forward. And I realized something I hadn't before. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about letting someone face the world without you. That night, I sat on my porch. The air was cool, sweet with jasmine from the garden. The sun had set, but the horizon still glowed faintly, that soft, forgiving light that lingers before true darkness. I opened the envelopes. Inside wasn't just money. There was a note. For every dollar I took, I give you back one truth, you were right. Love without respect is just control. I hope one day I'll be the kind of person who deserves to be your son again, Manny. Tears came then, quiet, slow, the kind that don't sting, just release. I folded the note and placed it in the tin, the same tin that had started everything. Now it held not cash or fear, but something worth more, proof that growth was possible. Weeks passed. Court hearings finished. Raphael was sentenced 2 years for fraud with restitution. Lauren fled the city. Her lawyer said she'd taken a job up north. I didn't care where she went. My fight wasn't with her anymore. It was with silence. So I filled the house with sound again, music, laughter, the hum of my sewing machine, the clatter of dishes. I invited Joanna and Vincent over every Sunday. We cooked, we danced in the kitchen. The smell of garlic and cilantro returned to my walls. Home smelled like life again. One afternoon, months later, I got a letter from the county clerk. A simple white envelope. Inside, certificate of clear title. Property owner, Maria Teresa Lopez. No pending claims. No lands. No shadows. I held it to my chest. The paper was cool, smooth, like the first inhale after a storm passes. Joanna came by and found me crying on the porch. Happy tears, she asked. The best kind, I said, the kind that mean I'm still here. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that moment I found Manny repainting my bedroom, how small the crack was that started it all. It wasn't just about paint or property. It was about boundaries. How love without them turns people careless. But I've learned something since. Setting a boundary isn't cruelty. It's faith that people can change only when they see where they end and you begin. Now I wake up to birds outside my window. The walls are my color again, pale blue, calm, clean. The smell of coffee fills the kitchen every morning, just the way I like it. I take walks, tend my garden, and sometimes I even laugh at myself for ever thinking peace was a small thing. It's not. It's everything. Last week, a letter arrived. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Mom, I got promoted. My boss says I'm good with people. Maybe I learned that from you. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I deserved it. I'll come visit when you're ready. Love, Manny. I read it twice, then set it on the table beside my coffee mug. The morning sun hit the page just right, making the ink gleam like silver. I smiled, not because everything was fixed, but because it was honest. That night, as I locked my door, I paused. Ran my fingers over the smooth metal. That click, that soft, final sound, no longer meant fear or exclusion. It meant safety, ownership, peace. I whispered into the quiet house. This is mine. And for the first time in my 67 years, I believed it fully. I still keep the tin on the table. Inside it now, the court papers, Manny's apology, the title, and one photo of me standing outside this house the day I bought it. Every scratch on that tin tells a story. Every dent, a lesson. The biggest one: love isn't proven by sacrifice. It's protected by boundaries. And sometimes the bravest thing you can say to your own blood is no. Now when people at the diner ask me how I'm doing, I smile and say, I'm good, I'm home. Then I sip my coffee, let the world spin as it wants, and remember, I didn't just survive my family's betrayal. I rebuilt myself from it. Epilogue. I see Manny sometimes, short visits, small steps. We talk, we laugh, we take things slow. He always brings flowers for the table and says, You taught me what roots mean. And every time I tell him the same thing. Roots only matter when you water them yourself. He nods, smiles, and leaves quietly, no keys in his pocket this time. Family love should never cost your freedom. Respect yourself enough to keep your name, your peace, and your house, no matter who tries to take them. What would you have done in my place? Would you have fought your own child or walked away? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.